Knight c3.
Should liquidate. We just saw Bacro on screen. The good news for French fans is not going to be in the Open, but the French women are about to take down Spain. I see Pauline Guichard doing damage against Anna Matnadze. So French women, they will score victory. French in the Open, this seems like they're only going to tie 2-2. But right now, we are looking at India versus China. 1.5, 1.5. India entered the round with the clear lead. If they're held to a tie by China, Iran will join Team India in first place, and China will have to settle for just one match point behind with many other teams. So Danya, f5 push. Why not move your passed pawn? I think black should be fine, but is there anything you need to be careful about?
Oh, there most certainly is. And by the way, the Dineshvar Minli game is still going. Minli might hold the draw, but it's a moot point because even in the one, it's fast, right? It moves forward at a furious pace. So I keep switching between who I think is playing for a win. Now I think it's Gukesh once again, and I can't see like a clear path to a draw. It feels like it should be a dead draw. It feels like it should liquidate, but I just can't quite find that sequence. And right now, where does Wei Yi put his rook?
Let's see. Where does that rook go? A1 feels like a square you want to be on, but knight can go over to c3, protecting, while also getting ready to jump forward with the check and see the f-pawn start rolling. So Wei Yi, he is doing fine. He's played a very good game thus far, but this is where the nerves start hitting you, Danya. It's so late into the round where you know you just need to secure the half point, play a few more moves accurately, but you're getting tired.
You're tired. It's been hour after hour of strenuous defense. Wei Yi has been on the defensive ever since move 40 was reached. It's move 67. He's now under 2 minutes. He's trying to find the right spot for his rook. This pawn is terrifying, Robert. Knight to c3 is coming. Then knight e4 check. Then you're ready to play f6. And letting this pawn slip through the cracks so easy as Wei Yi leans in. And is he advancing his own passer?
He is. We saw h5, knight c3 was the immediate response from Gukesh, who is now, his head is now over the board. You see him. He is very locked in on his chances. He wants to get knight e4.
And it's one of the very few situations, Robert, where black is advancing his passed pawn in some situations to give it away so that you don't have the burden of an extra pawn once you eliminate white's 2 pawns. So it's like this game of chicken where, yes, black's pawn is an asset, but it could immediately turn into a huge burden if you get into a situation where black can eliminate white's last 2 pawns at the cost of a rook. There's so much meta strategy here. But is Gukesh pre-moving knight e4 check? And what does Wei Yi do against that?
Knight e4 check looks incredibly useful for Wei Yi right now. I think he should be pushing that h-pawn. At the very least, it can serve as a decoy, and we see it go forward.
What sort of pandemonium awaits us in the final stage of this game, Robert? God only knows.
We do see a check on e4. The white knight, it swoops in there, trying to kick the black king back, and done after knight e4. I think the king would be advised maybe not to go to e7. That allows f6. Nope. This king, big moment right now.
Only move. King d7 is the only move to maintain a draw.
Is he that? I can't tell.
He hesitated. Did he go to c7? No way.
I don't think it's c7, but it is d7, so he finds the right square. And you see Gukesh, he's finally making his move, knight e5 with check. So that king needs to find the proper square to go to. Wei Yi, he is on the clock, and where is he going to go? Because after knight e5, I think you want to stay near the pawn. He goes, I think, back to d8, if I'm seeing this correctly. He does not allow that pawn to step forward with check. The pawn can still step forward here. And we see the players, the board right between them, and there goes that pawn. Done it. This is scary territory for Wei Yi.
And we should be getting the moves in momentarily here, so we can see them on the board. I can make them manually, but this is now down to only move territory for Wei Yi. Gukesh's knights, the acrobatics that they've performed. I will make the moves here. Knight e5, king d8, Robert, f6. And Wei Yi with his back against the wall, with time ticking down, he might lose this game. rook f1 apparently loses. He has to find rook
D1, you're saying, is the only move?
It's the Robert. If he goes rook f1, we're gonna get two queens on the board.
He pushed h3, Danya.
Oh my gosh, goodness. We're gonna get 2 queens on the board.
So what's gonna happen here? F7 will be played by white. Can you put the move h3 on the board? It's been played. Oh my gosh.
F7, rook f1. White's gonna route the knight back to f3 to slice off the connection between the black rook and the f pawn. Black will promote, but white will promote with check and very likely a mating attack on the black king. Oh my frickin' lands.
And what's so crazy is f7 has been played, so we can see that on the board, is that the knight will go to g5 with tempo against the h-pawn. It will slide back to f3 with tempo against the h-pawn, and that's the critical difference, is that black does not have time to step the king out to e7, because then the h-pawn will drop.
King e7 loses on the spot. Rook f1 is forced. Robert, you're right. This is incredible. Knight g5, as you said, hits the h-pawn, and guess what? It's the presence of these silent pawns on a4 and a5. That is what disallows black from giving up his rook for white's f-pawn. Otherwise, just throw that rook away. But because of the a-pawns, that defensive resource is taken away. This is unimaginable. Wei Yi has made a move, and I think it's rook f1.
It is, in fact, rook f1. And the one thing that is, as my commentator brain is trying to stay on here, is the bar isn't through the roof. And because it's where it is, that to my eyes looks like a +2, +3 territory, is there a way for black to, say, track down the a-pawn and then sacrifice the rook for the f7 pawn? Is there enough time for that?
Well, there's a will, there's a Wei Yi, and knight g5 has to be found by Gukesh. As you said, threatening knight f3, hitting the pawn. Wei has to push his pawns. White will promote with a check. I said there might be a mating attack, but there might not be. If the black king dodges and zigzags its way out of the immediate danger zone, Gukesh, he's got only seconds on his clock. He might not find the narrow path to victory, which might not even be there. Let's strap ourselves in.
Knight g5 played.
Knight g5? Yes.
Yeah, he did. We just saw it on camera there. The knight hops forward, hitting the h-pawn. It also reinforces the f7 pawn, so the other knight is free to go. So you're not dropping that h-pawn, are you, Danya? It's going to land on h2. We may see both sides queening, but white lands a check with a queen.
This is unbelievable. What are the odds that we're going to get a fresh pair of queens on the board? This round has just defied belief as Wei Yi, 30 seconds on his clock. He has to push. As you said, Robert, if you give up the h3 pawn, you lose immediately.
Unless you could grab that a4 pawn and get back around to get f7. I don't think it's happening. h2 is on the board, and that means one of the white knights. But which is the better knight? It's hard to choose between them. Knight g or knight e. He chooses the g knight, Danya. Is that the correct knight?
I think both knights were suitable, and the reason he chose that knight is because, of course, the other knight is now in the center, and he hopes that it will combine with the queen and hunt the black king down, but apparently there is no mate. Wei Yi, did he promote? No, he played king e7. That loses.
He gives up the h2 pawn, but Donna, doesn't this allow white just bring the knight right back, and f7 is defended by the knight e5?
Oh, wait. Knight takes h2. Wei Yi wants to go after the a-pawn, and he thinks that the black king can hold f7 at bay long enough, but there must be a win there.
Well, knight takes h2 is on the board. I mean, I think he's going to go rook a1. What are the choices he have? But that knight's getting back in.
And it's getting up to f6. It's going to set up a force field where black's rook will not be able to move to f4 because of a fork on d5. Gukesh is going to win this game.
That is an incredible move. You know, rook a1, knight g4, rook takes a4, knight f6, so the rook can't get back around. But that must be what Wei Yi was relying on. From a distance, it looks like the rook gets back in time, but not it. No, it doesn't. Not true. Not here. There is a fork on d5.
This knight is like the Terminator. It's taken the pawn. It's performed one set of heroics. Now it moves to its journey. On g4, the blue arrow has appeared. It is the only winning move. There is only one path. Knight g4. Gukesh taking the time that he has, the patience, the maturity. He's not rushing a single one of these moves. And maybe Wei Yi can throw in a check on a3 to make white's task maximally difficult.
Yeah, it can be confusing. It may seem like it doesn't matter where the white king goes in the second rank, but sometimes there are differences. Like if the black rook can slide around to the f-file. Knight g4 play, continued accuracy here for Gukesh. Oh, he was the most accurate player of the candidates. It earned him a shot at the World Championship. And right now, he is trying to earn India the clear lead, a continued lead in this Olympiad. There was a check given on a3. Nope, down and stopped one square short there. Check on a3 here, and Gukesh checking to make sure he finds the right square for his king.
King d2, only winning move. If he goes up to e4, I think he allows the black rook to give itself up for one of the knights, and then the a pawn is going to force white's other knight away from its protection of f7. Gukesh now has to avoid stepping on a landmine. I have no idea why king e2 is not winning. And
King d2.
He found
the only move. Of course he did. He may be young, but his age belies his experience, his strength. He is phenomenal, and he finds the only move. And look at Wei Yi. He looks to the side because Danya, I think he recognizes rook a4, knight f6.
Oh, knight h6.
No rook.
Knight h6 just wins on the spot.
Oh, because no rook f4, because knight g6 check.
The knights will end the game on h6 and g6. Remember, they were on f5 and f4 when this endgame began. They started together. They'll end it together. Wei Yi cannot believe his eyes.
Oh, and a huge issue is that if the rook takes the pawn on a4 and gives a check on the d-file, there is no rook d8 because knight c6 will be the fork. These knights will not stop dancing.
Oh my gosh. Tango, 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 and Wei Yi. Hesitation, finally. He realizes the gravity of the situation. He has to grab that pawn. There is no choice. He does, and knight h6 will seal the deal for India. This is straight out of a Troitsky study.
You see him, there it is, knight h6 played, and he slaps the clock, and with it, he may slap down China's chances in this Olympiad. Danya, this is Team India flexing and saying that even in these long endgames, Gukesh, he's young, he's got everything under control. He's playing for a darn world championship this year.
Put some respect on that man's name, says Gukesh. This is an achievement that even Magnus Carlsen would consider among his best. This endgame conversion, it was unfreaking believable. Look at the domination of the knights. Rook f4, you get forked one way. You go to d8, the knights tango to the west. Otherwise, knight g6 will lead to promotion. All Wei Yi can do is deliver a series of spite checks. All the white king has to do is prevent the black rook from stopping the pawn from behind. The rest is easy. Check.
That's right. It doesn't matter where the king goes, right? At this point, as we see a little instant replay there, the king goes to e3. Just don't allow the rook to the f2 square. That seems simple enough. So the king can go anywhere as long as it doesn't allow the rook to the f-file.
And there's yet another fork. If you walk the king up to e4, then you can allow the black rook to stop the pawn from behind because, again, knight g6 is going to fork the rook and win the game. I don't think you could script this better in a chess composition. The knights on e5 and h6 are going to be in my dreams tonight. They're going to be in Wei Yi's nightmares, literally.
I was waiting for that pun. I'm glad you delivered. And we see Photo Chess back there taking some of the final shots of this game. Always got her photographer hat on, making sure that the action is fully covered. But Danya, this is going to be heartbreaking for Team China. They put Wei Yi in on the top board. I still believe it was the correct decision. But Gukesh, it doesn't matter who he faces. It seems like he always comes with that determination that leads him, in this case, to victory.
And listen, for Wei Yi, as Gukesh takes one more side, he realizes that he is moments away from a momentous victory. For Wei Yi, take off your hat and you say you defended like a hero. He just walked over hot coals. He defended 20, 30 moves. He came oh so close. But sometimes it's not so much that you lose, but your opponent wins. And in this endgame, Gukesh won more than Wei Yi lost. Move 80. And the king is up to e4.
And there it
Wei Yi
is. The
stops the
clocks are stopping. Look at Gukesh breathing and a head nod. You can see the confidence on that young man. You could see a smile. That's the first time I think I've ever seen him smile, because at the board, he is a stone cold killer. And he may have just killed China's chances while lifting India's, because India is in the clear lead at this Olympiad. And that was a momentous occasion, a monster victory for Gukesh, and Wei Yi just analyzing the game with him, but that was so close, Danya.
And this final position is going to be inscribed in the hearts and minds of so many chess fans for the next few days. The knight on h6, to be joined, barring resignation, by its compatriot on g6. It's all about the knights. And Gukesh and Wei Yi, they're chess players, right? 7-hour game. Who cares? Restaurants closing in Budapest. Nope. We got to talk about the defining moments of the game. Robert, this is an unforgettable experience. I'm just so grateful that I was here. You know, it's like I want to etch my proverbial graffiti into the wall. What a display.
Really, I mean, these two players, you can see Wei Yi, he is probably just heartbroken because he gave it his all for Team China, and he knows how close it was. He knows that he had a draw, it was hanging in the balance, and Danya, I think, as you said, full credit to Gukesh. It wasn't that Wei Yi lost the game, it's that Gukesh won it.
Wei Yi's resistance, I think, would have saved this game against 99.99% of players. Maybe Magnus could pull this off on a good day. And for Wei Yi, if you're his teammates, you shake the man's